The rhetorical device we're going to discuss today is the slippery slope argument. This is where someone claims that one small first step can or will lead to a chain of related events that result in something consequential happening, usually something undesirable, something bad, something we should try to avoid. This strategy can be used properly, but sometimes it's fallacious. Here's an example of a slippery slope argument. You've been a regular smoker for some time, but you recently quit. You haven't had a cigarette for 3 months. You go to a concert, and your friend who doesn't know you've been trying to quit offers you a cigarette. You think to yourself, if I smoke this one cigarette, I'll just want another one later tonight, and then I'll want to buy a pack of cigarettes tomorrow, and then I'll just become a regular smoker again. So you say to your friend, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. You've given a slippery slope argument in response to your friend. You've basically claimed that once one event occurs, other related events will follow, eventually leading to unwanted consequences. The idea is that once you take that first step down the slope, smoking the first cigarette in our example, then you'll quickly fall down to the bottom of the slippery slope, becoming someone who smokes regularly all over again. Here's what the argument looks like. If A, then B. If B, then C. Not C, therefore not A. In other words, premise, if you smoke one cigarette, you will eventually become a regular smoker. Premise, becoming a regular smoker again is undesirable. Premise, you shouldn't do what is undesirable. Our conclusion being you shouldn't smoke that first cigarette. To figure out if this is a fallacious use of a slippery slope argument, we have to evaluate it, right? The first test would be looking at premise 2. Are the claimed effects actually undesirable? In this case, yeah, right? The undisputed medical consensus is that smoking regularly is detrimental to your health. Let's now test premise 1, the core of the slippery slope. If you smoke one cigarette, you will eventually become a regular smoker. Well, the science has actually shown that the vast majority of ex-smokers who smoke one cigarette after quitting can't stop there and return to their status as regular smokers. So there is at least good reason to think that this premise is likely true. And third, do the costs outweigh all of the benefits of the first event? Are there other relevant factors that we should consider when it comes to that first event, which might make the negative consequences worth it in the end? Maybe you would enjoy that one cigarette at the concert so much, but assuming that all of the other premises are true, it puts you at significant risk for becoming a regular smoker again, and becoming a regular smoker is undesirable for very good reasons. Therefore, no, the benefits of smoking that first cigarette probably are not worth the negative consequences. So this particular slippery slope argument is probably sound. But if any of these premises weren't true, there would be a stopping point in the slippery slope, and then the slippery slope argument would be fallacious and unsound. Take this example. Premise 1, if I join an airline's reward program, I will fly more. Premise 2, if I fly more, I will be in a plane crash. I don't want to be in a plane crash. The conclusion, therefore, is that I shouldn't join an airline's reward program. There are multiple ways to break this slippery slope, multiple untrue premises. Premise 1, joining an airline rewards program, doesn't necessarily mean that you'll fly more. It just means you'll benefit from accumulating frequent flyer miles when you do fly. And premise 2, flying more often doesn't mean you'll get into a plane crash. Commercial flights are one of the safest modes of transportation. And premise 3, certainly I don't want to get into a plane crash. But the other premises don't hold up, and we can evaluate this slippery slope argument as being unsound and fallacious. Assessing the strength of slippery slope arguments is not always this black and white. You've got to take into consideration the probability that each of the premises is true in evaluating the overall soundness of the argument, especially because slippery slope arguments aren't always intended to be strictly valid, which is to say, if A then B, if B then C. Many people arguing a slippery slope are merely intending to say that this is a likely succession of events. So you have to ask yourself, how likely is it that B will follow from A and C follow from B? If it's very likely, then the arguer has a good case. With slippery slopes, it boils down to determining the plausibility and likelihood of the premises. If you're interested in philosophy and critical thinking, you will love Brilliant, which has pretty much become my go-to for learning things online. Check out Brilliant's new immersive lessons on logic, problem solving, multi-level thinking, identifying false information, and identifying fallacies. Whether you already have a grasp on any of these subjects or you're looking for a fun and engaging way to become acquainted with these topics for the first time, Brilliant really is the place to go, where you can actually learn hands-on by solving problems and puzzles designed by expert educators. And unlike other learning sites, when I'm using Brilliant, I'm actually learning by working hands-on with real-world scenarios and problems. Sign up for free by going to brilliant.org/critical thinking. I've put a link in the description under this video, and the first 200 people who visit will get 20% off an annual premium membership. Visit brilliant.org/critical thinking.